The Dr. Kayode Fayemi administration, since inception, placed priority on the development of tourism in Ekiti State. This explains the inclusion of tourism in the 8-point agenda of the administration as Agenda Number 7. Since 2010 and now, there have been tangible testimonies to the determination of the administration to reposition the economy of the state using tourism development as one of the major instruments. Aside from the creation of the Ministry of Culture, Arts and Tourism, as well as Bureau of Tourism Development, the unprecedented and giant stride being taken to rehabilitate the hitherto moribund Ikogusi Warm Spring Resort through massive reconstruction, infrastructural rejuvenation, and strategic rebranding has been described as an exceptional stride towards tourism development in the state. The impressive investment of the administration on culture and cultural activities, the commencement of the building of an ultra-modern civic center to house Ekiti cultural heritages, and the proposed plan to have a famous village in the state are also a clear indication of seriousness to fulfill the 7th agenda of the administration. In September 2012, the Dr. Fayemi administration recorded another milestone. The first Ekiti State Festival of Culture and Arts Expo, EKIFEST 2012, was held in Ado, Ekiti. Governor of Ekiti State, Dr. John Kayode Fayemi, approved the hosting of the festival to break the facade of latency in the development of the arts and cultural potentials of the people. The arts and culture of Ekiti people are considered a veritable vehicle for development, which, according to the Honorable Commissioner for Culture, Arts and Tourism, Alhaji Ayodele Jinodu, must be designed to potentially drive indigenous economic enterprise, generate employment, and make Ekiti State a vibrant tourism destination. Hence, the theme of the festival was Engaging Culture for Socio-Economic Transformation.
I have the fervent belief that EKIFEST had laid a very good foundation to drive the economy of the state, especially, I repeat, in the areas that attentions are not being given. For example, the artists around here are less exposed. The covers around here are not given attention. Most hidden cultural tastes that could become sources of business in form of entrepreneurship that have not been harnessed in the past. The EKIFEST gave the entire people the platform to give it an expression for the first time.
Alhaji Jinodu attributed the success of the festival to God and the governor.
I have to personally acknowledge the prowess of Mr. Governor in understanding the need to bring to bear development in the state. And by virtue of his exposure, and by virtue of his training, and by virtue of his understanding, he believes deeply that culture and tourism can turn around the economy of the state, like it's done in lower parts of the world, where the tourism activities contribute a significant percentage of the GDP of most nations across the world. And he believes, with the potential we have in the state, that there's need to actually put in place institutional framework to drive the potential of the state that are just too numerous to mention, both in tangible and non-tangible terms. And that's why he has, for the first time since the creation of the state, created an independent ministry of culture and tourism, and at the same time establishing a group for tourism. and he made it an agenda that drives his policies, and makes it number 7. As I speak to you today, those of us are in this end of, this ministry, we beat our chests that Mr. Governor has performed excellently well in delivering to the people, especially his promises in tune with the Agenda 7 around the state. For example, for the first time, EKIFEST is developed into internationally acceptable tourism resort. And as I speak to you, it has gotten for the first time since its creation, a feasible approach of driving culture to develop the state.
Alhaji Jinodu explains that EKIFEST 2012 was designed as a major tourism product to attract investors to the state. Prior to the commencement of the festival, the Ekiti State Ministry of Culture, Arts and Tourism inaugurated a committee to work out a plan for the execution of the maiden cultural fiesta in the state. The committee was chaired by Mr. Yomi Lunge, a veteran arts and theatre administrator who is the Director of Culture in the ministry. In order to ensure that the maiden experience was impressive, the current Director General of the Abuja International Carnival and Ekiti-born Professor Razak Ojubakari was appointed as the artistic director, while another Ekiti-born award-winning theatre technician, Mr. Abiodun Abe, was appointed as the technical director. According to the chairman of the EKIFEST 2012 committee, Mr. Lunge, consultation meetings were held with various stakeholders such as cultural officers and community development officers of the 16 local government council areas to discuss mobilization strategies. Other implementing partners were inaugurated along with 16 technical handlers to facilitate mobilization of participants at the grassroots level. The area education officers of the 16 LGAs were also invited to a meeting to discuss the possible involvement of schools children from both primary and post-primary schools in the state. The consultation was equally extended to the Council of Obas. The royal fathers applauded the vision and pledged their support. Knowing the importance of the media in the success of such a program, the Honorable Commissioner led the committee on a visit to all the media houses in the state, while a press conference was held to publicize the lofty vision. The same visit was made to security and traffic control agencies in the state in order to enlist their support. The Honorable Commissioner had a meeting with the 16 local government caretaker chairmen to seek support for the festival and ensure the funding of the contingents from their various council areas. The Ekiti State chapters of all the relevant art-inclined associations were invited to pre-festival meetings which were well attended. Such associations include the Association of Nigerian Theatre Practitioners, ANTP, National Association of Nigerian Theatre Arts Practitioners, NANTAP, Performing Musicians Association of Nigeria, PIMAN, Ekiti House of Arts, and so on. Other subcommittees put in place include Publicity Subcommittee, Welfare Committee, Programs Committee, Venue Committee, Transport and Contact Committee, Arts Exhibition Committee, and Finance Committee. The first Ekiti State Festival and Culture and Arts Expo started with the arrival of some local government contingents to the designated hostels in some public secondary schools in Ado-Ekiti and Ekiti. The day one of the festival was Monday, 10th September 2012. Contingents from 15 out of the 16 local government invited states have been organized in groups along Fadui Bashiri Road as early as 10 in the morning to commence a carnival float. Dressed in their various colorful costumes, they danced in rhythmic response to traditional music. One of the outstanding features in the float is the truck in which the Okuta-Agbo-Kutaleri is built. The Okuta-Agbo-Kutaleri is one of the unique heritages that could be found in Ado-Ekiti. The contingent danced behind the truck as it moved from Fajuyi Park to Oluyemi Kayode Stadium. The chairman of the Technical Consultative Committee on Culture, Arts and Tourism, and the wife of the Ekiti State Governor, Her Excellency Erelu Olabisi Fayemi, joined the crowd of participants in the carnival float. As the sound of drums and gongs reverberated across the state capital in celebration of the unprecedented recognition accorded the culture of the Ekiti people, the heavens responded with a symbolic downpour, which some of the participants said was a tacit expression of divine approval. The torrential rain, rather than inhibit people from their open display of love for culture, spurred them further to show their unflinching affection for the Yoruba culture in general and the rich culture of the Ekiti people in particular. The Oluyemi Kayode Stadium, the venue of the opening ceremony, had been filled with dignitaries from the local governments, invited states, top government functionaries, and practitioners of culture and arts professionals. The football field has been taken over by a massive wooden construction replicating the beautiful Orole Rock in Ikere, Ekiti. Her Excellency Mrs. Aduni Olainka, the Deputy Governor, arrived and the program of the opening ceremony commenced. The national and state anthems were rendered live by a choir of 50 people, led by Mr. Ologunde, the originator of the Ekiti anthem. In spite of the rain, the various contingents did a traditional match past. The mood of the people indicated a high level of appreciation of the efforts of government in initiating a festival of culture in the state. Day 2 of the EKIFEST 2012 was another remarkable and eventful day. The colloquium and the opening ceremony of the arts exhibition had been slated to hold that day. The colloquium started at about 11 a.m. 2 resource persons were present to deliver papers on the following topics. 1. Managing the forces of tradition and modernity, a road to participatory development. 2. Cultural tourism, a dynamic alternative for economic transformation. The resource persons were a renowned history professor, Chief Ishola Olomola, and the Director General of the Institute of Strategic Studies, Kuru Jos, Professor Olu Obafemi. The colloquium was chaired by Her Excellency Erelu Bisi Fayemi, who also declared the session open. According to her, the festival is a product of strong political will.
It gives me great pleasure to be here this morning as we continue activities for EKIFEST 2012. I am particularly pleased because this is a demonstration of the fact that issues to do with arts and culture take priority in the government of Dr. Kayode. And at this point, I think I would like to make a confession. Before Dr. Fayemi came into office, I had been talking to him about how I see both issues to do with women's rights and arts and culture, how they are always marginalized. And the easy way to marginalize those issues is to say we would address women's issues as part and parcel of other issues, for example, social development, youth issues, and so on. So when a machinery is created to empower women, you see that it's called Ministry of Women's Affairs, Youth Empowerment, Social Development, and so on. And somewhere along the line, issues to do with the empowerment of the very people you set up the machinery for get lost. The same thing happens to arts and culture. If you look around the country and in other places as well on the continent, you see that there is hardly any entity solely for arts and culture. Arts and culture is always lost somewhere in information and orientation or social development and also civic orientation, all kinds of other things. So one of the promises Dr. Fayemi then made was that he would try and see that this is different when he's in power. And to the glory of God, we are seeing that things are being done differently. For the first time ever, Ekiti State has an entity called the Ministry of Arts, Culture and Tourism. And this is a demonstration of strong political will, because that's how you know whether a government places priority on these issues or not. And if you have an entity that can address these issues, then it means that the material resources, technical resources, financial resources that are required, or intellectual resources that are required to drive these programs are adequately put in place and monitored.
In the governor's message, delivered by the Secretary to the State Government, Alhaji Ganiu Owolabi, who represented Her Excellency Mrs. Aduniola Inka, the Deputy Governor of Education, the need for Ekiti people to be grateful to God was advocated.
On behalf of His Excellency, the Governor of Ekiti State, and by extension, the Deputy Governor, whom I'm standing here to represent, I bring good wishes and very solid support to this gathering. What do we have to say? It is state to be thanking its staff. We have people at the head of affairs now that are visionary. We have people that are forward-looking. We have people who are ready. They are not just coming to government without being prepared. They are prepared, and hence this type of liberation, that I will call it, that we are witnessing. It is a sort of liberation of our potentials in Ekiti. It cannot be done so smoothly without any resistance. When you look at it, you know that a lot of thought has been given to what is happening in Ekiti State.
The intellectual sessions had in attendance cultural advocates, practitioners of the arts and crafts, students, contingents from the local governments and invited states, Commissioner of Culture and Tourism from Oyo and Osun states, representative from the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation (NTDC), other stakeholders and concerned members of the public. While Professor Obafemi asserts that celebrating culture is a heartwarming thing at this time, Professor Olomola affirms that culture is a living organism which has the attributes of life and death.
Managing the forces of tradition and modernity, a road to participatory development. Two keywords there, tradition and modernity. Tradition and modernity are always antagonistic. They are always in conflict. When something is tradition, it conflicts with modernity. What then is tradition? Tradition is another word for culture. Our ways of life, our ways of doing things, our ways of saying things, our language, our religion. In fact, when we talk of culture, we talk of two types of culture. Material culture, that's traditional technologies, the means of attaining our livelihood, the utensils that our wives and mothers use in the kitchen, the tools that our farmers use on the farm, what our hunters use in the jungle, what our warriors use in time of war. Those are material culture. But when you talk of non-material culture, you are talking of the languages, the social customs, the ways of life, our religion, and so on and so forth. The two main traditions or culture. Culture is a living organism. Therefore, culture can develop, culture can grow, culture can die. As a result, people who we call traditionalists are the custodians of our rich cultural heritage. The traditional rulers, the chiefs, the priests, and so on. Those are the custodians of our tradition and culture. They are not ordinarily custodians, they are defenders and protectors of culture, and therefore they are bound to be conservative. When people are conservative on the side of culture or tradition, they are called traditionalists. They don't want any change to occur to culture. They protect it as the hen protects its chicken. They don't want any other thing to tarnish it or reduce it. Occasionally and most of the time, their basis of protection of culture may be very wrong. That is why we come to the opposite now, modernity. Modernity is the opposite of tradition. Modernity is introducing change. When you want to change an existing system, then you are revolutionary. Good English word to call you iconoclastic. That is, you are in destroyer. You can imagine when Socrates in ancient Greece, ancient Athens, why did the Athenian authorities condemn him to death? He said he was teaching new ideas and therefore corrupting the youth. Not only was he condemned, poison was handed over to him directly to swallow and die. And it's not an ordinary Greek. And also Preston. History of the ancient world called him the greatest Greek. Or those of us who are Christians here, why did the Jewish leaders condemn Jesus? According to them, he himself openly said he had come to challenge laws. So he was introducing something new for which he had to die, and he needed to find a criminal to him. When Prophet Muhammad prophet of Islam, started to preach. Why did it rage in Mecca? Why did they hate him? Why did they want to kill him? Why did he run for escape with his life from Medina? It was because he felt he was introducing something new. He was a revolutionary. He was therefore an iconoclastic. Why? The Arabs and the Yorubas were virtually the same. The Arabs were idol worshippers. In fact, Arabs, in all books teaching the history and culture of the Arabs, who say the Arabs worship and recognize the existence of 400 gods. The Yorubas recognize 401 gods.
Through the ingenious design of the Honorable Commissioner and the EKIFEST 2012 committee, the Arts and Craft exhibition was a major attraction among the festival programs. In order to encourage participation, 3 pavilions have been built for private exhibitors who came from within and outside the state. Some local governments had earlier mounted pavilions at the exhibition ground to exhibit cultural products and crafts that were peculiar to the local government. There were corporate exhibitors who also came to exhibit their works of art and crafts. Among them are the Arts Department of the College of Education, Ekiti, and the Arts Department of the Osun State Council for Arts and Culture, Oshogbo. The 4 days of the exhibition were dedicated to all the 16 local government areas to make the exhibition a grand event. Therefore, the local governments were grouped into 4, and each exhibition day was dedicated to each group of 4 as a special day. Every local government chairman and group was expected to mobilize people from his local government council area to the exhibition arena on the specified day. Each chairman was expected to present a speech and talk about his plan and efforts in support of the tourism vision of the Kayode Fayemi administration. This, significantly, contributed in no small measure to the regular convergence of people to the exhibition venue. It was upon it that patronage of the Arts and Craft Fair throughout the EKIFEST period hinged. At the exhibition arena, the Ogun State troupe defied the drizzling rain to give an opening performance which the vivacious chairman of the Technical Consultative Committee, Erelu Bisi Fayemi, complimented with her characteristic genial dance steps. Erelu declared the program open, after which she inspected the exhibition.
So I'd like to thank the Honorable Commissioner and his team and the members of the Consultative Committee who have helped put the festival together and who have helped organize this exhibition. One of the things I find particularly challenging, and sometimes I find it not just challenging but painful, as someone who acts as a hostess in the state, the chief hostess on behalf of Mr. Governor, when I have to give people gifts, people who come to visit us in State House or who visit the state government, the gifts I give them are things that I acquire from other places. And I would really love to be able to give people things that are made in Ekiti by Ekiti people. Because when we get into the habit of providing gifts that are made in other places, what we are doing is we are enriching the economies of other places. If you go to South Africa, they want to give you a gift. They'll give you a gift of, sometimes they give you beads made out of their local blue, white, and red beads that they have that the women make into very beautiful ornaments. If you go to Africa, they will give you art and crafts of Africa that they have made themselves. The things that are products of their own environment. Here in Nigeria, we always happen to import things from China and all those other places. So we have a lot of talent in Ekiti. We have a lot of creativity here. And even if you can't find anything in Ekiti, you can go next door to Osun State, to Oyo State. By the time you go around all the Southwest states, we'll find a lot to be able to make ourselves that we can be proud of. So I'm very happy that we are doing this, so we can identify the areas in which we can develop the talents of our young people, create employment, as the Honorable Commissioner has said, and make poverty history in our country. And at the same time, continue to serve our state as a place where we nurture talent, where we nurture people's creativity, and a place where dreams do come true, and that show will go on no matter what. So on that note, I would like to declare this exhibition open.
The caretaker chairmen of the 16 local government council areas took turn to lead their people to the arts exhibition, which was a competitive event. The highlight of the local government days was the presence of the deputy governor and deputy speaker, who came with the chairman of Idosi to give support to Idosi local government area, to which they both have a parental connection.
Ikú ọdún o. À ń ṣọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ eléyìí láyé. À ń ṣe eléyìí. À ń ṣe èyí tó túnbọ̀ á tún lárinrin jù báyìí lọ. Mo ń sọ fún deputy speaker wa àti honourable commissioner. Mo ní tá à ń ṣe lẹ́yìn pé inú wa dùn sí. Nítorí náà màá mú àbá wá pé bóyá ọdún tó ń bọ̀ ni o. Ní ìlọsíwájú ká máa tó bí a ṣe máa gbé Ìdòsí Day, Ìkẹrẹ Day, Adó Day bá a ṣe gbé lárugẹ jù báyìí lọ. That it will become much more interesting.
Her Excellency, the Deputy Governor, led the Idosi local government on inspection of the exhibition stands. One of the private exhibitors expressed delight at the success of the program.
I have been in more than 20 African countries. This is the most beautiful event I have seen in my world of travel. I have never seen a total collection of Jews in one show. Never. And this will be a source of foreign exchange for this state if you are able to package them well and export them. You will just earn foreign exchange. Foreigners will come and see this.
However, while the arts exhibition venue was a beehive of activities, aside from wrestling competition, which did not hold due to non-registration of the event by any local government, other festival events were taking place simultaneously right inside the same trade fair complex venue of the EKIFEST. The events were traditional dance and music, Ayu game competition, traditional drama, Ari game competition, storytelling, and fashion parade. A total of 25 adjudicators were appointed to preside over the various competitions. All the festival events, including the arts exhibition, ran through the week till the afternoon of Friday, 14th September 2012, when the closing ceremony was held at the Oluyemi Kayode Stadium. At about 3:30 p.m. on Friday, 14th September 2012, the Oluyemi Kayode Stadium was again filled to capacity for the closing ceremony of the Maiden Cultural Festival. As if the closing ceremony was another competitive event, participants from local governments and some states that were invited engaged themselves in rib-cracking dances. The government of Ekiti State was represented by the Secretary to the State Government, Alhaji Ganiu Olabi. In his speech at the closing ceremonies, Dr. Kayode Fayemi explained that the experience through this festival has revealed that talents abound in Ekiti State. He said the manner in which the local government pavilions were stocked with beautiful arts, crafts with utilitarian and aesthetic value, locally made by local artists, is a manifestation of the fact that there is a great deposit of creative potentials here in Ekiti. This, he also said, is an indication that the means of survival is within. He therefore encouraged the youths to develop their innate abilities and sharpen their skills towards self-sustenance by creating job opportunities rather than chasing after opportunities. This, according to him, is the only means through which more jobs will be created and poverty wiped out. The high point of the ceremony was the presentation of prizes and certificates of awards and participation to deserving contingents in the various competitions. The overall best prize went to the Irekpodun Ifelodun local government. People expect local government councils to also invest in the promotion of cultural and tourism activities at the grassroots level. Some of the chairmen expressed support for the vision that brought about the first Ekiti State Festival of Culture and Arts Expo.
All the local government chairmen, they are there to complement the effort of the state government. And I want to believe that what is primary, what is very, very important among the 8-point agenda of Mr. Government is tourism. And so it must be at our local government is there for him to complement his efforts, to bring out all these traditions they are hidden at the grassroots. And so we must be there to bring them out so that we can showcase it to the outer world to see that this is what we have in it.
What I'm seeing here, I'm proud of the state. It symbolizes the cultural awareness on the part of government. I want to appeal that this festival should be an annual event. In fact, it is indeed a great honor because for us as a people in the general government, it has we are working our interest, cultural activities. And as I'm speaking, we have dedicated a sector for the preservation of our cultural artifacts in the local government.
I'm an artist and a cultural enthusiast. By the grace of God, I participated in the first Ondo State Festival of Art and Culture in 1976. And since then, one has been yearning for a repeat performance. So I must admit that this is a very wonderful beginning. Even the scripture says we should not discountenance the days of little beginnings. So I believe that if this can be built upon, if next year our government is generous enough to give more resources, then I believe this can be greatly improved upon. But for the effort made so far, I think it is wonderful. And I want to congratulate everybody, both the top hierarchy and the followership of the ministry for this wonderful experience.
Speaking about the challenges the EKIFEST committee faced in the planning and the implementation processes, the chairman of the EKIFEST 2012 committee, Mr. Yomi Lunge, explained that timing was one of the major challenges. He said that the opening and closing ceremonies, which were supposed to be the high point of the festival, were substantially affected by the torrential downpour, while long drizzling rain all through the remaining days of the festival nearly stalled the various events.
As regards timing, like I said, the one we had was our very, very, very first experience. And then we had to change dates several times, to make sure that at least does not coincide with any of government programs and even national activities, because we are expecting visitors to come from outside the state. And then we are, nowadays, people are jostling for what will bring that will improve the economy. So every here and there, people are having carnivals, people are having festivals. Like you have Calabar Carnival, you have River State, the Canary Reef. It's even happening present. You have Canary Reef, you have Arugungu Festival. You have so many of these festivals going on. But we want Ekiti State activity to be a special one and to be attended by at least many people, because we have to showcase ourselves to as many people as possible. And that was why initially we thought we'll have EKIFEST around May. But then there are so many factors that influence our change of dates. We approached the governor again and said, okay, maybe he could assist us and then approve the September date. But unfortunately, we discovered that even the dates was not that auspicious because it fell within the raining season, and so it had an adverse effect on our performances. For example, the opening day, which was a carnival float, which Our Excellency was even prepared to know she was already, even in the procession. The rain came down, but then the artists were undeterred. Even Her Excellency, Elizabeth Fayemi, was undeterred because she still went ahead and went to the stadium. Everybody came in the rain, and we had, in fact, it was a pleasant time. So a pleasant period. I never knew that people could at least be in the rain in that mood and still enjoy themselves. And that's to tell you the spirit attached to that festival. That nothing will disturb us, nothing will deter us, because this experience has come to stay. And so that time actually wasn't that auspicious. So we are, like I said, it's the first time ever. It's an experience, it's an experiment. But we now know if we are going to organize a subsequent edition, that at least we look for a period whereby the rain will not disturb. And at the same time, we'll have an ample opportunity of inviting investors, because that is the essence of our organizing EKIFEST, to make sure that we have investors, private sectors, coming to participate in this activity. So at the point in time, we will not be relying so much or heavily on government finances. So that time, we are going to look seriously into it and ensure that we don't organize our next EKIFEST in the rainy season.
According to him, with the support of the meteorological unit of the Geography Department of Ekiti State University, a more propitious period of the year will be picked as the EKIFEST week. Another major challenge was the unimpressive local government support. Some of the participants who were supposed to be encouraged to put in their best for their local governments had to survive on just 1,000 naira for the entire 5-day period of the festival. While some local government chairmen were said to have failed in their earlier promise to vote a reasonable amount for the participation of their contingents, the local government workers' strike that coincided with the festival also made it difficult for some local governments to access enough funds to give their contingents.
Yes, the challenges we had were expected. They were expected because the EKIFEST was a medium experience. All of us in the ministry have collectively a challenge that we are equally addressing, and the challenge of participation from the local government is minimal to the general public who want to, first of all, feel that culture is about religion, who want to feel culture is about a return to the festive past. That was the first challenge. We thank God that we are breaking through. At the end of the EKIFEST, when people saw it over various televisions in Nigeria, especially in our local television, people now see that yes, that we are really going back into what can become useful for the society. At the period, we expected in the EKIFEST ceremony a large number of traditional rulers, but perhaps maybe very few of them sent their delegates. But perhaps maybe they hadn't really gotten used to or really understood what the picture is going to really look like. But by the time you now juxtapose what we did here with what is happening in Abuja Carnival, with what is happening in Arugungu Fishing Festival, with what is happening in Ogudioba, with what is happening in Eyo Festival in Lagos, with the by the time they compare what we are doing here with the Calabar Carnival that is now advertised on CNN, I think people are gradually moving towards Mr. Governor thinking that our cultural heritage could be repackaged to harness and rearrange the totality of our society for development. It is true it was a big challenge, but people are now gradually coping with themselves. At the end of the day, the challenge will have gotten with local government reduced because of an approach we are adopting from the ministry. we had to really do what? Appointed technical supporters to governize, to sensitize the local government participation.
The substantial delay caused by the technicalities in fund processing and consequent effect in the early mobilization, publicity and marketing of the festival notwithstanding, EKIFEST 2012 was a landmark achievement. It will remain forever a monumental point of reference in dogged effort of the Dr. Fayemi administration to lay a solid foundation for the discovery of talents in the state. Judging by the level of support the festival garnered, it will be an open truism to say that Ekiti people appreciate the celebration of their culture. It was obvious that they appreciate the landmark efforts of the Dr. Kayode Fayemi administration, not only in tourism development and cultural promotion, but also in creating an enabling environment for general transformation of the state through the provision of essential infrastructures, human development, and security, which are complementary ingredients for tourism developments.
I must use this occasion to again thank all our supporters from outside of the state, especially the states that participated with us. We invited several states. Those who came included Osun, Oyo, Ogun, and Ondo State. So we thank them for supporting us, and these people see that there's much to gain from a cultural festival like that. Thank you.